Do 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 do. Hey, here's two facts that are undeniable. When the Nikon Z6 and Z7 were announced, I, like other intelligent people, I emphasize the word intelligent, scoffed at the notion that Nikon came out with these quite expensive cameras. They were, of course, first iterations of Nikon's mirrorless interchangeable lens system. Scoffed at the notion they were single card slots and no possibility of a vertical attachable grip. No, I scoffed at it. I didn't buy them, you know. And here's fact number two. And you could call any camera store to confirm this. You can go online and confirm it too. Nikon has done abysmally horrible. Nikon actually made a statement. A corporate executive made it. And I'm going to paraphrase the statement from Nikon corporate exec. He said, Nikon Z sales have been far less than we anticipated. In other words, that was a professional way of saying, man, these cameras went over like lead balloons. They sucked. And they absolutely have. I have a lot of contacts in various camera stores. They don't sell them. I have always said since day one that the output from the Nikon Z6 and Z7 are great. Great cameras. Nikon has always had great science for their digital compressed RAW files. They always have, and the Z6 and Z7 are no exceptions. Well, it turns out Nikon made a singularly epic error. Well, Nikon's made a lot of mistakes, and I'm a big Nikon fan. Haven't bought anything from them recently, but that's because Nikon hasn't made anything that I had even a slight desire to purchase. I mean, there's just no denying that, and I minced no words about it. What they did, just like Nikon's always done, D3, D3S, Nikon D4, D4S, Nikon D600, then became the D750. Before that was a Nikon D600. Nikon already had in the plans, and Dirk, I forget the guy's the Nikon Europe corporate exec, he said that Z6 and Z7 were not professional cameras. Which of course they're not, because professionals require this neat little thing called redundancy. And with no dual card slot, no professional photographer worth a half a brain is going to use them professionally. And this is the reason why the Nikon executive 2 years ago, his first name is Dirk, I forget his last name, big, tall, half-bald dudes. Z6 and Z7 are not professional. This is exactly what I said when they came out. So Nikon has put on their website now the Z6 and Z7 Mark II. You could basically call them a Z6S and a Z7S. Who cares what the heck you call them? Z6 Mark II, Z7 Mark II, they're going to have a real vertical grip and a secondary card slot. They're going to have a CF Express card and slot 1 and an SD card slot 2. Well, that's fine. I mean, that's essentially kind of sort of what the D850, Nikon D500 have, even those are not CF Express cards. However, I'll remind you, Nikon promised they would do firmware updates for the D500, the Nikon D850, to allow them to use CF Express cards. But Nikon has lied. They promised that years and years ago, and Nikon never followed through on that promise. Let me remind you of that fact, by the way. So am I going to buy a Z6S or a Z7S or Mark II, whatever the heck they're going to call it? I might buy the Z6 Mark II. The Nikon Z series lenses are pretty crummy. I don't know how many Z series lenses you've had your hands on. I've had my hands on many thousands of lenses. Countless thousands of lenses over the decades. The Z series lenses don't impress me a single frigging bit. There is still no screw drive capability of some of the best lenses that they ever made. Nikon stock has been plummeting faster than a flushed pile of poo. You know, when you flush your toilet, it just goes whoosh. Nikon stock has been doing that for the past couple of years. Nikon is in serious trouble. It's not my opinion, it's a fact. The person that's the most reliable source I have said that Nikon is really up poop creek. Yeah. This is the same guy that told me exactly to the month when Olympus was going to fail and sell off, you know, their photography business. And he was, of course, 100% right. Everybody said I was a liar back then. Of course, I was not. I was 100% correct, based upon my 100% reliable source that I've known for decades and decades now. So, the real question is, what do you think? Are you going to buy one? This is a little too little and a little too late. Nikon is, You know, when they have the prom and all the chicks and the dudes are, you know, all together and dancing. Nikon is like, you know, the chick that showed up at the last 5 minutes of the prom. It's like, you know, everybody else has already gone somewhere else. Everything is moved to mirrorless. Essentially so. There's nothing wrong with any DSLR. I'm using a DSLR right now, Nikon D500. Nikon D850 is the single best DSLR ever made by anybody. Nikon makes it. D5 is an abomination. The D6 is really a Nikon D5S. Nikon is in heavy financial difficulty. I may very well buy a Nikon Z6 Mark II. Dual card slot, true vertical grip. The question I have for you is, like me, have you moved on? You know, I still have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, literally, of Nikon f-mount lenses. Yeah? And several Nikon DSLR bodies. But my question to you is, have you moved on? I don't care what it is you moved on to. Sony, Canon, Fujifilm. Don't care. I don't sell anything. But I'm asking you a question. Is this a little too little? A little too late? Because this is exactly what Nikon should have done to begin with. Now, if we were to roll the clock back, because there's no technological advancement here in the Z6 Mark II or the Z7 Mark II. None! A vertical grip capability, which of course Nikon could have done 2 years ago when they came out with the Z6 and Z7. Yeah, dual card slot. Okay, you remember when Nikon lied to you and me and everybody and said there's no room in the Nikon Z6 and Z7? This is exactly what they did, by the way. I'll remind you this. Nikon lied like a dog. There's no room in the Z6 Z7 for a secondary card slot. It's like, stop lying. I mean, who the hell are they lying to? The guy that, you know, is taking apart countless tens of thousands of cameras? Who are they lying to? Maybe they're lying to the stupid people. There's no room in there. Now they got dual card slots. And one of them is a big card slot because it's a CF Express card slot. So you got room for an SD card slot and a compa. Total lie from Nikon. This is the reason why the executive of Nikon Europe, Dirk, whatever his last name is, I forget, he said the Z6 and Z7 are not professional cameras. And he was right. God forbid an executive at a company tells the truth. Yeah, God forbid that happens. But now, here in 2020, a couple plus years later, too little, too late from Nikon. Tell me if I'm full of it on that one. Do you agree or you disagree? Little too late. This is what Nikon could have done and should have done over 2 years ago. Then Nikon would have held on to their dignity. But what Nikon decided to do a couple plus years ago is they decided to do what they've always done. Because they already had the current versions that are coming out, dual card slot and they already had that in the works. But to squeeze every penny out of every sucker out there, they're going to come out with an early version, and then we're going to come out with the improved version. Every camera company on earth is always thinking 5 years ahead. They always have all cameras to come out planned 5 years in advance. The problem that Nikon didn't foresee in trying to shaft people like that is the ever-plummeting camera market, the huge apocalyptic crisis of 2020, all of these things that have brewed to the perfect storm, Nikon stock plummeting faster than a flushed pile of poop. All of these things combined mean that Nikon is in trouble. They may not even, I would almost, as a betting person, I'm not a betting person at all actually, but if I were a betting person, I would bet that these cameras, if they come out at all, they'll come out in limited numbers. I don't even know if they'll come out at all. They may come out in very limited number because they didn't have to do any serious redesign. All they did was add a second card slot and a vertical grip. Very little redesign and some improvements on autofocus and some of the countless bugs, because it's Nikon's first mirrorless serious interchangeable lens camera. But pros didn't buy it. And like I said, don't take my word for it. Contact any camera store. They will tell you flat out, no, we really haven't sold any Z6s or Z7s. They haven't. They have been poor sales. They have been poor sales. But Nikon did lie about a lot of stuff. They should have done this several years ago. They should have not tried to milk and sucker people, and they should have come out with the first iteration of Z6, Z7 with dual card slots, with vertical grip capability. But instead, they chose to sell a bunch of really expensive, neutered, non-professional cameras. Basically, a D3000 series of their mirrorless cameras. Single card slot, no vertical grip. Very expensive, great image output, which I've always said since day one. Always said that. Too little, too late. But you tell me, am I wrong? I'd like to know what you think. Wait for it. Nikon. Nikon. This is a Canon, by the way. Nikon. You arrogant schmucks at Nikon.